This is Howler Mouse. How y'all doing out there in YouTube land? So I am going through all of my stuff, a few boxes, and I'm gathering up all the little notebooks and sketchbooks and everything that I've had scattered around for years and years and getting them together. And I figured I'll just shoot a real quick video since I had this out to show just what I have here, the past art and everything, right? Because I'm at a point where I am starting to get a little bit more and more serious with art. I've been dabbling back into it. And who knows, maybe one day, maybe there'll be a video one day of like the Heller Mouse history of doing art. But anyway, this is stuff that is just random. It is totally random. So we're going to look at this. First thing we have here is that this is a sketchbook that I honestly think I bought maybe back in the 90s because it has some pieces of artwork that I actually remember doing. This is from 1991 in a lunchroom, a little doodle. And I do remember just sitting there in my first semester of a community college. I would only do one more before I had to quit and do some traveling and amongst other things and military later on, which is why I'm seeing what I have left. But this is from 91. And I remember my whole goal was as I was sitting there eating probably, I would imagine, a chicken salad sandwich or something in the cafeteria of a community college, I was wondering, can I draw Robin Williams from memory? So as you're going to see, this is tight. This is when I was drawing all the time. So I was 18. And I drew consistently from the time I was about 4. But it was always little doodles and never really took it serious and whatever you did in high school and stuff, right? So then this is a few years later. This has got to be mid 90s. I do remember this is from life. But this is from the 90s. And this was the pose. There's a story behind this of where the pose came from and who this person is. And as the years went by, I did go through and totally black in parts of it. So this is where I was probably around 23, I think, with it. I'm surprised this has survived. And yeah, I do remember the story behind it. And like I said, I know exactly where that pose came from. And then this is from 2000 or 2001. I was eating with this person at a waffle and egg, and he is no longer with us. Obviously, as you can see, he's an older man, as we are here. And this was probably, it took me about 10 minutes. And then this is where a gap in my art hobby really hit. So there was several years of not drawing and stuff, right? So there are things in there, right? So yeah, we have a sketch. Like I said, this was a very nice man. We'll put it that way. Mean as a snake. Nice does not always mean behaved. We'll just leave it at that. No, this is, I totally just found this. This was actually a little $3 or $4 cheap little sketchbook. As you can see, I actually just threw away the spine of this because I never thought I would be able to find this. And this disappeared pretty quick because we moved into the house that I'm in. And I can tell, I'm not going to get into it, but I did a little journaling in this, getting back into it. But this was during the pandemic. And I had brush pens. I just wanted to see how the brush pens worked, right? So this is from 2020. And I don't know if you guys know this song by The Replacements, Bastards of Young. But I've never heard a song that when I heard, that's the song you hear where you're like, oh my God, there are other people like me out there when you're a kid. So it's always stuck with me. The ones love us best are the ones we'll later rest. The ones that love us least are the ones we'll die to please. Bastards of Young. And like I said, this was just me messing around. This was trying to get like an alternative music feel back when that was the word in the 80s. It did not pop up in the 90s, people. It was around before that. But yeah, I was trying to do my version of a, first of all, you're a beast. I went for a lion face there. I went for the what do they call that? The nest, the bird's nest kind of haircut from the not as great as the Cure. This was more of a punk feel that Tim, the bass player for the Replacements, had. But I was going for more, like I said, just sort of a sleek kind of a 1980s alternative feel by memory. And it's one of those things I'll never know if I succeed because you succeeded or you'll have to be there. This other, I think I skipped a page. Yeah, like I said, this was the very first thing I did with a set of brush pens. Was just sit there and started playing around with it. I know there was an image. I'm kind of wondering if this was off a police record that I had. I was listening to a lot of Synchronicity at the time on my record player during the pandemic when I was drawing this. For all I know, maybe that's supposed to be Sting. I don't know. So that's what I was doing. So you can kind of see how your art varies when you don't stick with it. So kind of see what's in this one. Yeah, there's things from over the years. Oh, here we go. This is the piece. This is why this is out, right? This is a piece I did. I'm going to have to look at my Instagram. I think I did this 2 weeks ago. I had this picture forever. Don't even know where I found it. I probably had this for 10 years. And I printed it off somewhere, obviously. And finally I had enough. And this is a piece that probably took me about 3 or 4 hours, despite how sort of simple the form looks. Because this is the stuff that I'm very slow. That's why I'm real hesitant to start drawing live again. Might record and speed it up. But, you know, the way I draw this, I'll get a ruler and do the basic shape, the form, and then I'll get a ruler. And I have like this weird math in my head where I do distance and kind of like how to multiply about the distance and everything like that. Then I just look for the blacks and things. And then if it's not perfect, I'm not worried about it. This was all done with brush and ink wash. I was very happy with that because, like I said, I started drawing a little bit, doing art, drawing whatever, a little bit more and a little bit more. And actually some of it feels like with this one, it's actually coming back. So now I can kind of go through and you can see it's got serrated edges. A lot of the stuff may come in this one. Okay, so yeah, this is a portfolio. And I didn't know what was in this because, this was bought a few years ago. Some of the stuff's been on Instagram. So I want to say some of these were like from 4 years ago, but the difference in this is I'm experimenting with mediums. This is where I've always done pencil and ink. I think so. Probably because of the comic book influence, I probably did watercolor in high school or something. But basically because that's really all that was available in the stores and comic books. It was fine. It was fine. You know what I mean? So this piece here, as you can see, this is a Dark Crystal inspired piece. But this was so I could see what these aqua pens can do. These graphic aqua pens. I found at Hobby Lobby. They were, of course, like 40% off. And I just wanted to see what they could do. And I started playing around and I've added a little bit of ink, some black ink to it. And what I like about this one is that, a lot of art, you're supposed to be far away for an illusion to come up where it looks real. But with this, a lot of the depth and the details and stuff are up close. This ended up being mixed media, if you will. And that was fun to do. And then this piece, this is a cheat, but not the way you think. Hold on. So I can't remember if it was 1983, but I think I've had this comic since I was about 10 or 11. And I'm going to back up and say that this is the upgrade that I have framed. I have drawn this. This is the only image this is the only image off a comic book I ever traced when I was a kid, and I did not like how it left an impression in the comic. So I have probably drawn this image, I would bet you anything, at least 100 times since 1983-ish or whenever this came out. I always just found it striking. So about 4 years ago, I started watercolor, and I was so bummed out of how horrid it came out to be. It was totally me. So a couple months ago, I finally had enough, and I got some gouache, and I finally bought an actual book to kind of start teaching myself a little bit of gouache. It's these books. They're for oil and acrylic, but I'm applying them to gouache because that's what we have here. So what you're looking at is my first gouache piece. And it was just fantastic to kind of bring this back. It is what it is, okay? And for this to be my first gouache piece, I'm very happy with it. And an artist named Mike Grell did this, the creator of this comic of Warlord. And he might be at a convention this summer, and I'm actually thinking about taking it and going ahead and giving it to him with the little story. This is for appreciation. And then the alcohol markers really took off. So I picked up a set of gray ones, and I have a black and white book of Bowie. So I found some black and white pictures because, like I said, this was during the pandemic. Didn't really think about going out and getting reference shots, but this is him in Berlin, and I kind of abandoned it. This was just to try to get a feel. And luckily I have the pictures, I think, on Instagram of the process of just playing around with these black and white and gray. There were grays, black and grays, alcohol markers. And then this was the second one I did. No, this was the first one. This was the second one. So I was really happy. I was like, these markers are so cool. This was the one where I started getting the feel for it and things. And like I said, the subtleties that came out, that's gel pen to get the hat out of there. But there were subtleties I liked in the values of how you could just get textures and shadows for hair and things in there. So that was not a big deal. Like I said, there was improvement there. There's always improvement. But I learned a lot just going for it, not really worrying about anything. The values and the grays were just fantastic. I really enjoyed how you can get shadows in like just little things like shoes. So it's more like there's parts here I would like to I'm proud of here and there, right? So I felt, pretty good with it, felt my way out. And then I did this piece. I think this took me 3 days, 3 hours at a piece. This was my first serious piece with alcohol markers. And it seems like I may have gone in and tried to play around with a little bit of ink on there and decided to abandon that and just stick with the markers. But it just amazed me. I love this piece because I was like, did I do that? Because little accidents happened that worked out to where the values that I was able to pull out of that, a gel pen. I used a gel pen too to get the strings on there and some highlights back in the hair. But the white on the black in the perspective on that end of the guitar just blew me away. As you can see, there's always been a thing about me and hands. So it is what it is and what it owns. So there you go, guys. That's just a little bit of random art. I'm getting things organized, getting all these really old sketchbooks together and figure out what I'm going to do. All right. Thanks for hanging out.